Hello everyone, I'm Bradley Sward, and this is my Day 12 Part 1 solution to the Advent of Code 2024 competition. The problem is called garden groups. I'm solving it today in Python almost as always, but today for sure. And so we have a bunch of groups of plants in a garden, and we're trying to figure out how we can build walls around them, basically, just the plots to figure out the area and perimeters of each of the different plots given a giant grid. Oh my goodness, the grid on this thing is humongous for me. It's like 140, or yes, 140 by 140, or maybe 160 by, I can't remember exactly what. But anyway, and so basically we're trying to figure out all the squares, and then we're trying to figure out the area from that, which is just the number of the size of a grouping, and then the perimeter is a little more complicated. So I'm supposed to get an answer of 150 or 1,522,850, and I do get that. So here's the answer, and here's my code that does it. So what am I doing here, right? So part two is going to be a pain in the tushy. So at least it feels like right now until you come up with the algorithm. So for this case, I came up with a dictionary of basically XY positions to their characters. So basically, you just figure out for every character in my file, here's the file, it has a bunch of letters in it, right? And so for every XY position in this space, I give it the character, whatever it is. So that's how I start off. So I have a dictionary of 19,600 items to start. And then basically, as there is something left in my dictionary, I'm going to grab just one of them. I don't care what, I'm just going to grab one of them. And then I'm going to try to go up, down, left, and right. And if I can, I'm going to keep putting it into my locations list. I probably could have set this up as a set, but you know how you get into these things. You just kind of get started and you kind of get yourself worked up here. And I think I could probably solve this in one loop. I don't have to come back with a second loop. But this part here is basically just trying to figure out what elements make up that specific grouping. And so we're just going to keep trying. We're going to go through and just for whatever, try to go up, down, left, and right. Add anything to it, and if there is a grouping in that of the same kind in that space, then I'm going to keep adding it to my locations list until I've exhausted the list. And as I've progressed through and keep going through the list, I can't find another one to add. And that's what this part is doing here. So as long as there's something to keep adding, and I'm going to keep processing, but then when I fall through, now I need to check to see, well, what is the area and what is the perimeter of this grouping? And so basically the area is just the area itself is just the number of locations that are listed. That's easy. And then the perimeter is basically how I figured it out anyway, is basically if you just took, if every location was its own was independent of everything else, and they weren't shared, there would be four. Each one location would have four units of fence around it. And so, well, all I did here is for every location that is in the locations, I check to see if there's a partner. Basically, is there a neighbor to you up, down, left, and right? And I just subtract one off for every time you see that. So if there's one, so if there's one left and right of each other, well, that grouping goes away, and then it goes away for both of them. So it would subtract two off of the 8 that it would be. And I don't, maybe it makes sense to me because I'm the one doing it. Maybe it doesn't make sense to the 20 or 30 of you who are listening to it. But basically, area is easy. Perimeter is 4 times the number of locations. Subtract off the neighbors from each individual unit, and you'll get the number of units for the perimeter. And then when I'm done here, I eliminate all of the locations because that is one grouping. I eliminate all of those from the specific the map. And I just keep doing this over and over and over again. Find something and then figure out the grouping. Find something, figure out the grouping until there's absolutely nothing left in the map, and then print out the value just to prove it works. I'll just do it one last time, and just to prove it gets relatively quickly too. So that is my part one. I look forward to part two here. Instead of looking at perimeter, we're going to look at how many sides the thing has, and that's going to be, oh my goodness, how do you determine the sides from something of this kind of data structure? It'll be interesting to solve. So I'm looking forward to that. Have a good one, everybody. Hope you enjoyed. Please comment if you need to. Moving on to part two.